you all to Harris Plantations digital learning series, Evening with an Expert at Harris Plantations, session number 20. As you know very well, today's topic is thoughts on innovative strategies, initiation and execution. Dear friends, actually, when we talk about innovation strategy, an innovation strategy is a common innovation mission and a detailed plan that aims to create new value for which customers are willing to pay. It includes a set of policies or behaviors geared towards achieving future organizational growth. Why innovation strategy is important? An effective innovation strategy can clarify priorities and goals and foster alignment, and it helps a business achieve long-term success. With that basic introduction, today's topic we have aligned thoughts of innovative strategies, initiation and execution. For today's session, we have invited another eminent resource person. He's specialized in this particular subject. He's Dr. Ravi Bamunasinghe. On behalf of our Managing Director, Dr. Roshan Rajdore, and entire team of Harris Plantations, I would like to warmly welcome you, Doctor, to the session. And good evening and everyone. So let me introduce Dr. Ravi Bamunasinghe to the session. Dr. Ravi Bamunasinghe is a PhD holder and SME business advisor, coach, and visiting faculty member of Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, who has commenced lecturing after 3 decades of industry exposure in business research and consultancy. He's responsible for initiating 2 business research agencies catering to local, international, and multinational companies, providing strategic direction and brand positioning. He's a founder member of Chartered Institute of Marketing UK, Sri Lanka, and also he was a past president of Sri Lanka Association for the Advancement of Science, Social Science, secretary, Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing, and the founder president of Market Research Society of Sri Lanka. His doctorate is dedicated on enabling growth of SMEs, business modeling, and entrepreneurship, received from Malaysia University of Science and Technology. He holds master's degree from University of Surrey, UK, and Kelani, Sri Lanka. He was a regular member of the panel of judges for brand excellence conducted by Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing, SLIM. And currently, he is engaged in development of SMEs in Sri Lanka and in the Blueprint Committee and the jury of SME Development Awards 2022. With that brief introduction, let me warmly welcome Dr. Ravi Bamunasinghe to the session, and over to you, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gamage, for the invitation and the kind introduction. Actually, I have been practicing person, so I thought of sharing some of the thoughts. And first of all, I must thank you for inviting me for the session. Well, the session is going to be very short, but within this short session, I also would like to pose few questions, and those questions responses are you have to select either 1 or 2 of your choice. So I'll be using the chat box for that. So feel free to put your numbers, then see where the thoughts are going to be heading, and then we'll have even though we are in a Zoom session, we can have a somewhat of an interaction session. So that's how it is to be happening. So permit me to share a few slides that I have selected for this session according to Mr. Gamage's request. So I hope you can see this, Mr. Gamage.
Yes, Doctor, we can see it. Right, okay. Now it's
okay.
Clear.
Yeah, okay, right. Thoughts on innovative strategies, initiation and execution. What I initially would like to do is, I like to draw your attention to the logo of your website logo, because I did a small research before this, talking to cross-section of people to find out what their thoughts are about the logo here. So these are the kind of words that are being used by them to articulate their thoughts of this logo. Pure, blooming, mild, grow, nature, hand, helping hand, hands-on, support, warmth, love, earthy, rooted, care, share, human, many, and focus. So it has a very profound kind of articulation of a simple diagram. So I'm very intrigued with this kind of articulation by cross-section of people, not many. It is not a quantitative study. It's a qualitative insights by talking to a cross-section of people. So then I also found there were less associated words like this: techie, crude, rash, and fast. So there is a certain aspects are there in that context that you may, so those are may not be needed to associate with this kind of a proposition. Then only I studied your vision, mission, values. So then only I studied your vision, mission, values, and these are the vision, mission, values there. So that will be helping for me to look at the kind of direction of an organization where it is heading. So I'm very impressed with the kind of very nice articulation in the vision, mission, values, and they are complementing the logo that is being symbolized. So that complementary nature is very, very important. But then also, I would be much more happier because if I look at the find button for quality, I found that there are 5 times you are repeating quality. I would be rather happier if the quality connotation also being reflected to some extent in the logo, or maybe the activities that you do may have. Maybe you are doing, but I'm talking here from my very brief research that I have conducted. Then also it took my attention to your one values, that one value that you were talking about, our competitor, the way you interpreted the value in that context. So therefore, this is very interesting because very recently, I happened to listen to Mr. Shivan Daniel talking about Aparnaka Jatakaya, and I hope that Mr. Gamage and his team also was there when he was talking about Aparnaka Jatakaya. So this particular, our competitor value that you are articulating very much aligned to the wise merchant of Aparnaka Jatakaya, where what he said was, which I'm reiterating, what he said was, don't be critical about the competitor, but be mindful about the environment, the landscape that the competitor created for you to compete. So that's exactly, I think, you are doing. I think it's very commendable in that light. Why I brought in this vision, mission, values is we can't talk about strategy without vision, mission, values. So that is why we need to bring that in. So moving from here, I would like to go to Greece. So this is a familiar picture, Trojan Horse. I hope all of you have heard the story. Greeks were trying to conquer Troy, but they couldn't penetrate the castle. So then they have abandoned the castle, this wooden horse outside of the castle, and they have withdrawn. And then the Trojan people thought that they have won the war, and they wanted to keep this horse as a monument, and they have brought the horse in. So once the horse is being brought in the night, the commandos inside got out and they massacred the leaders and they conquered the castle, right? So that is in a very simple articulation is about, it's a strategy that they have adopted to take advantage of the situation, and then they conquered the castle in a very strategic manner. So that is the simple historical argument of that. I'm not going to stop there because I want to go to Greece once again, talking about Pericles. So what I would like to do now is, I will give you a few minutes, read this, what Pericles is all about, and then I will have going to pose a question, like to know your answers to the question. After you read it a while, then I will also briefly explain what the Pericles has done to in Athens against Spartans, and then you will be able to have a clarity. So I'll give you a few minutes for you to read it. it is being pronounced as Pericles. Have you finished, Mr. Gamage?
Yes, we are good,
Yeah.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll briefly explain. Actually, Athenians came into power with the leadership. He's the last leader who had made Athens a very strong country. Then Spartans were a stronger army, so they wanted to conquer Athens. And then Pericles, with his leadership, he decided to have a strategy where to keep everybody in the castle and then allow them to penetrate the Spartans to penetrate to the land. While that is happening, because Athenians are stronger in the sea, so then they are going to have a flanking attack through the sea to the Spartans. So then Spartans' attention has to be divided. In that context, they have a chance of winning. Then at that time, Pericles had a strategy to have a period of 3 to 4 years. But most unfortunately, the defense was so high, so Spartans hold on to it more than 7 years. By that time, in the castle of Athens, there was a heat up, so food shortage and all that. Then there was a pandemic, and with the pandemic, the whole thing collapsed. So then finally, he succumbed, his son succumbed, and he succumbed, and in that context. So my question to all of you is this. Is the strategy adopted by Pericles good or bad? So you need to, in the chat box, Mr. Gamage, you need to tell me whether the favoration towards 1 or 2 from the chat box. Could you please tell me once you go through? I'll give you a couple of minutes. Yes. Then let me know whether your audience is favoring whether it is a good strategy or a bad strategy.
Sure, Doctor. Yeah, will do.
So like in the parliament, Mr. Gamage, you are doing it by side. The vote system should be by side. Don't try to count it. Just tell me whether the lot of ones or whether lot of twos. That's all, by side, like in the parliament. Is that enough time?
Shall we give another few minutes?
30 minutes, 30 seconds,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, 30 seconds, yeah.
Yeah. For this kind of surveys, don't think too deep. Just a spot thought is fine, because spot thought is more accurate. With the interest of time, I think whatever the numbers are there, that's fine. Which one they are favoring, Mr. Gamage?
Roughly about 99% number 2, bad strategy.
I anticipated, so that's fine. That's exactly. Now, I'm not going to debate on that, but why I'm going to now go to US, where the weapons of mass destruction by this George W. Bush. Then you can remember the story, Norman Shofcourse, who had a strategy at that time with Saddam Hussein, and then the war, they adopted the same strategy where Pericles has adopted. What they have done was similar thing. What they did actually, they built up a huge army in the beach in Qatar or Saudi Arabia, in that area, making the Iraqian to think that they are going to attack through the sea. While that is happening, he built a very elite team through the desert, and then first attack to the desert that's their entry point to the war in that particular war. So it's a similar flanking strategy that is being used. Why I have brought these two stories is, well, that's how the strategy is all about. With this, I would like to go to now strategy proper. So simple explanation of strategy is a long-term direction of an organization, right? Now here, long-term can be contextual. Today, it can be even 6 months to 2 years, even 3 months it can be, depending on the context. And then also, direction is all about, that is very important part. That is why I have brought in your vision, mission, values. It's a vision, mission, values. So that aspect need to be looked into in that context. Then the organization is not just an organization. It is about how far a company can stretch the internal resources to manage external competition and the demands. So it's all about stretch. So strategy in this context is very implementable. It is long term. You can decide the direction. Direction is all about vision, mission, values. And also the organization is about the how far you can stretch. Can you hear me, Mr. Gandhi? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's okay.
Okay. So, so the stretch is very important. That is about the organization. How well you organize to stretch to meet the external demands. Then also I would like to go to another explanation that is about compendium of deliberate choices that an organization makes to maximize its value over a given period of time. So strategy is all about choices. Now, Pericles' choice has failed. Norman Shofcour's choice has been, I don't know, it can be subjective. It seems like being successful because he said, I want to have a shorter war. I finish and come back. That was the motto, finish and come back. So it is a kind of a choices that you are making. So strategy in that context is all about choices. So stemming from there, I would like to come into a little bit, as we have a shorter session today. I have to come to things very quickly. I would like to talk about creativity, innovation, and innovation, the difference of between. So creativity, anybody can be creative. It is imaginations. But invention is something that an idea or a concept. But the most important for businesses like us is having an invention that can generate revenue. So that is where innovation is all about in the business sense. So innovation, we are going further in that context. Invention is something novel. Innovation is something novel that is bringing revenue. In that light, innovation can be seen as invention into commercialization. So you should be able to market it well. You need to penetrate it to the target audience, and the target audience should be able to buy the products in a meaningful manner. I think the master commercializer is my good friend. I really admire him, Steve Jobs. I think he's the master commercializer. He knows how to pick talent, and he changed the way of thinking in the world. So that is about. So innovation is all about invention into commercialization. Don't get it mixed up with invention. Invention that may not generate revenue, then it is not innovation in that light. Moving further. So this is when now we are coming into innovation solutions into action. So then innovation comes when there is a problem solution fit. Then you need to ask, do I have a problem worth solving? So that question need to be asked. And then we are not going to stop there. Then have I built, then you need to go to the market and see, do certain pilot study. Have I built something people really, really want? That aspect need to be there. If the people doesn't want, it is not going to be an innovation. It is just an invention. Then after COVID, this particular box came into the scene. Then we need to look at now what are the channels that we are reaching the customer. So what is the most effective channel of distribution that we are going to look at? That aspect need to look at it. Then also we need to look at how, whether, if there's a demand happens, if the demand is there, how capable are we to scale up the business? How do I accelerate the growth? Good example here is the Google story. When the Sergey Brin and Larry Page had a one-page concept in their hand, and they were looking for an angel partner, I can't remember the name. So they went to this person and said, we have a concept like this. The angel partner asked, what is the scalability? Can you imagine? They said 1 to 10 billion US dollars in small piece of paper. That's the kind of a vision that they should have. That they are so sure that is the kind of money that they can generate from this piece of paper. So angel partner immediately gave an open check and then gave them to freedom. And then initially he managed their business to take off the company. So that's a kind of a innovation that we are looking at. Moving further, so taking that whole idea a little bit further, we need to ask furthermore questions. Now we have an innovative idea. Then we need to ask, how do users find your product or a service? Then we are not stopping there. Do users in their first time experience, whether it is a wow experience, we need to find out. And then whether there's a repeat purchase is there, that also we need to find out. And then also whether we need to find out there are no free customers, whether we can make money out of our innovation. If we can't make it, is just an invention. Then whether the customers are referring to others to buy the product. If that happens, the acquisition and referral is, we talk about growth metrics, and the activation and retention, we talk about value metrics there. So that these are the questions that we need to ask when we are talking about innovation. Moving further, I am once again have a small question, right? Now, this is in Sri Lankan context. It's a very recent exercise that I have carried out. I have spoken to cross-section of people. Who buys white good in Sri Lanka today? Today, I'm talking right now. High-end customers or low-end customers? Mr. Gamage, tell me whether there are a high number of ones or twos in this context.
Sure, Doctor. Yeah, I'll follow it.
Got it?
Yeah, it's about still the results, almost about 98% is number one, Doctor.
Again, I anticipated. Now I'm going to tell you a story. I spoke to cross-section of white good people, and then I asked them who are their customer profile. I was shocked to hear this. What they said was, today their credit or debit card sales is only just about 4%. And by and large, people are coming in cash. And then we need to understand that in the marketing, we divide the society target group into A, B, C, D, E. A and B is the more white collar job people. C is also a junior clerk, executive kind of a person. And D is the skilled worker, and E is the unskilled worker or unemployed. So what he said was his current market is C, D, E, not A and B. And he said it's easy to sell to them. And then also he said fantastic thing. On a given per annum, there are about 400 to 500,000 units can be sold to this target group. And then in various items, I mean, we are talking about white goods here. So then so 400 to 500,000 items are, there's a term that we need to use. So when you're looking at a market in that context, that is the total addressable market for a product that we are talking. So for a year, they are sure of getting that is the total addressable market is 4 to 500,000, or whether we'll say blender, whether we'll say rice cooker. But your share is not that. So your share is being told as a penetratable market. So you may have only 10% of that market share. But for you to have a success business, you have to be mindful about the TAM, the total addressable market. If you identify the total addressable market in that context, then only you will be successful. And otherwise, you are going to be a micro business operator where you may not be successful. So for you to have a success, you need to understand your total addressable market, or TAM. Now, this is about the kind of the dealers that I'm talking. This may not be a massive grand scale research. This is based on talking to few white good retailers in the market who are at a operating level, entrepreneurs who are at an operating level. So that's exactly there. So we think sometimes the high-end customers are the customers, but it may not be the case in that context. Maybe we can discuss this at a later in the question and answer session. Moving further, now I would like to look at innovation solutions further in a more conceptual level. Now, the Harshana earlier tried to find out what is the pains and gains of the customer. So these are the pains and the gains of the pains and the gains of the customer. So for you to come out with innovative solutions, we need to identify what are the pains and what are the gains. Now, simple example, the company can provide it. If you have a headache, you have Panadol as a pain reliever. If you are going out, you apply perfume to your, when you want to go see your partner, then that will elate you. That will be given you confidence. So the absence of it doesn't make any difference, but presence of it you make you confident, or it will be more lighter. So it's a gain creator. So we need to identify in our products and services what are our pain relievers, what are the pain gain creators. So we can have both, or we can have one of them. I will show you a simple example how Uber came into the scene in the context. So please read this, then you may understand. Then I will explain a little bit. If I'll give you 30 seconds for you to read it. Okay. So what Uber had done was they have identified the gains and the pains of the customer, right? And then really studied it, and they conceptualized with a platform where they can mitigate. So they offered pain relievers. I'm not going to go into detail. And they offered gain creators. That then the rest is history. That was a success story, and it happened in Sri Lanka. And then PickMe also picked it up. And then they are also doing well. And in Malaysia, it is Grab. So likewise, it's a huge paradigm shift in the world in terms of logistics and transformation. So that has given quite a confidence to a lot of people looking at platforms. Now it is happening in many ways in the market where we can think about. Moving further, once again, another small survey. What is appropriate for Sri Lankan farmers? Farmers means whether they should have a high volume of produce and low value, or low volume of produce, high value. Mr. Gamage, can you check and let me know, please? 30 seconds.
Yeah, Dr. Will go ahead, please.
This is what has happened to us. This is reality. What is the survey results, Mr. Gamage?
It's about 85% is number 2.
Okay, low volume, high value. I'm very happy to hear this. Now that is what the mindset today. That is what the mindset today. So you are right. So the mindset is now the flow. Now I'll explain a small story. A story of a priest who the priest had collected money to buy a car. Then in the current context, he decided, no, I will go and help the village, small village to come up in their life. So he spent money. He first went in there and then released the mortgages of the farmers first. So he spent money to release the mortgage and then asked them to cultivate. And with that cultivation, he said, you have to give me your produce, I'll buy it on the market price and retain the part of it for the repayment of the loan, and then give the balance back to them to continue their life and make a living. So priest was talking to me for 2 hours. Matya, I was very successful in that context. Where I have helped, and today the farmers are relatively comfortable because they got money even with a lower production. But the problem now is escalating in a different way due to the Ukrainian war and the dollar floating. Now the problem, now when I spoke to, because of this, I spoke to cross-section of farmers. Farmers said, Mahatya, api ගේ බාර ගාන්ට වගේ අපි ආදායම හොයාගත්තා. So in other words, with a low volume, they have made good money equivalent to a current previous income or whatever. But the problem today now is that whether that money that they have earned, whether it is sufficient with the escalating dollar appreciation and the Ukrainian war. But that's a different story. But this priest has come out with an innovative solution to salvage a particular poor village in a very innovative manner. So these are the kind of innovations that we can think about. So the priest doesn't know management, priest doesn't know marketing, but in his own way, he has come out with a solution and he's buyback. And also what he did was, he was cultivating indigenous rice, which can command a better price. So so it's a problem solution fit, solution market fit, and then also to some extent scalability. So we need to always think about, go back and see the framework that we have discussed, with how it is complementing us in our innovative solution finding. Moving further, when we talk about innovation solution or innovation strategies, the source of innovation is happening in value chain and supply chain in any business. So without talking about the value chain and supply chain, I think we can't find innovation at all. So that is why I wanted to focus here on the value chain in that context. Value chain is all about disaggregation of a firm into strategically relevant activities in order to understand behavior of costs and potential resources of differentiation. So it is a source of identifier. So we need to understand the costs, and also we need to create differentiation. So in here, each stage, now value chain starts from the customer. Actually, that we need to be mindful, because each point we are trying to see how to create value to the customer. So start from distribution, how to create value to the customer, we need to find out. We need to identify the gaps. Then in marketing, we need to identify the gaps. Then in production, we need to identify the gaps, and the procurement, we need to get the correct raw material to produce that in that context. Then while that is being happening, we also need to be mindful about the supply chain. Supply chain is working the other way around. Then in that context, we need to identify speed matters, variability matters, and the visibility matters. Whatever you do, it can be seen, then it will be the best solution that you can look at it. Then also we need to have variety, and also we need to go through the learning curve in that context. I'm not going to stop here talking about value chain, because value chain is going to be a cardinal importance if you are talking about strategic innovation. We also need to think about this particular aspect. We can't only focus about value chain of ours. Actually, what we need to focus here is the value chain of our customer. In other words, firm's products eventually becomes part of its buyer's value chain. The ultimate basis of differentiation is a firm and its product role in the buyer's value chain, which determines the buyer's needs. So simple example, we'll say, now gas is a crisis today. Now, if the gas cylinder is 20 kilos, do you think it will be handled by our household wife? No, also housewife may not be able to handle it because it is too heavy. So that is why it is going to be 13.5 kilos. Now it has come down 12.5. So that's a sizable thing. A woman could raise it up, fit it into the kitchen cupboard or whatever. So that's a simple explanation of supply chain. So we need to always be mindful about how our value chain complements, fit into the value chain of the buyer. If that happens, only the success happens. And if your items are coming in a pallet, your pallet size should be complementing the pallet size, the conveyor size of the customer. If not, then there is going to be problem. So during COVID, we have found so many companies have to realize this, how to fit the value chain to the buyer's value chain. They are in that context. So we need to be mindful there. Moving further, once again, another survey. Can smartphone be of use to farmers? Yes or no? 30 seconds. How is it, Mr. Gamage?
About 70% is yes. Number
Okay.
one.
Okay. So that's a very fantastic response. I'm very happy. Actually, your thoughts are very much aligned to the kind of evolving landscape. I'll now tell you another story of Suresh's story. Now, Suresh is a person who has worked with this person I came across because we had a huge problem of value chain and supply chain, because manioka in Ambelipitia is 20 rupees. Manioka in where I buy is about 120 rupees in Kirimandala economic center. So then the huge problem is no one is a winner. So intermediary is a winner. So then we will try, actually under the patronage of Professor Lakshman Vattavala, we were trying to find out a solution there. Then I came across this person who has working with the World Bank and ADB, who has identified 600 to 700 farmers and to find out what can be done to solve this problem. Now, interestingly, there is a funny thing happened during COVID. Now, penetration of smartphone among farmers was earlier 18%. It has shot up to 62% or something like that during the COVID because of the children's education. So they have to buy a smartphone. Out of that, about 47% of the people are now using smartphone to find out the prices of the goods in the markets, Manning Town, economic centers, Dambulla, as so forth. And also, then they have developed certain network with such people. So they will produce once the market price is right and the quantity. So they are now in a position, I'm talking about the 600 farmers in that context. Now they are in a position to manage to some extent the supply demand imbalance. So they will not pluck items, produce until they get a confirmation that there's a shorter supply. Otherwise, earlier we had excessive tomatoes, excessive any other fruit or whatever, aubergine or whatever. So in that sense, so that's how it is happening there. So these are the kind of innovations that we are looking at. So what I'm trying to establish here is innovations can happen in many ways into many cross section of people in businesses in that context. So we need to really understand there that kind of opportunity that we need to look at. Once again, we need to go back to our framework. What is the problem solution fit, solution market fit, solution channel fit, and then also whether it is a scalability. Now, in this context, we have done a pilot study among 600 farmers. It is successful. Now, slowly we are trying to see, because now I have to tell you, I looked at the Manning Market website. It is not functioning. It is defunct. But that is because the evolvement has not taken place. But the COVID has triggered for them to go for smartphones. Now, I think slowly it may pick up to some extent in that light. Moving further, now I am going to talk about Dabbawala in Mumbai. This is a fantastic innovative solution that has come out with it. In Mumbai, there's a huge city and most of the people are from distant areas. I hope you have heard about Dabbawala of Mumbai. There is a film also, Lunchbox. Lunchbox is a film that are being telecasted. So what is happening is the rural people who are in 100 kilometers away, the wife wanted to send a lunch to the husband in Mumbai city. So that be responsibility is being, this is happening for now in the past 125 years. Now these people are not educated people, but these people have a mechanism to collect it from the household, from the wife, come to their respective town and put it into a train, and from the train there's another party takes over, that party unloads in the Mumbai city. From that it is being divided into the routes, and from the routes it has been divided to the respective office, and after 1:30 they collect that empty can and then come back and deliver it back to the housewife in that context. Can you imagine? Harvard has conducted a fantastic research in this area. They have found these people's mechanism, this doesn't make mistakes at all. After 1 million deliveries, their mistakes are only 3 to 3.4%. So this is a self-innovative solution that we have done in that context. So what I'm trying to say is, you may not need to be to have an MBA or anything for you to be an innovative solution provider. So it is about compassion. It is about truly being interested to understand the grassroots level reality. That is what most important thing that we are missing out. We need to understand the so in Sinhala, what I'm trying to see is පොළොවේ පය ගහලා solution හොයන්න පුළුවන්. So we need to go to the grassroots level and to try to find out they are in that context. Coming on to that, then how to, when you are executing solutions, there's a very important part that I have to tell you. Actually, this is a cover page of a famous management guru, John P. Cotter, Leading Change. I was curious to know why this Cotter has used this particular picture in his book. So then I dig deeper and found out the nice story. So I thought it would be interesting for you to listen to the story. So particular state in America received 3 penguins, whereas they had about 29 penguins, now 27 penguins. They received 3 penguins from another state mistakenly. Now these 3 penguins are exposed to different environment. From day one itself, they were very active and dynamic. The penguins, 27 penguins who were there were lethargic. They never come out to the pool. So they were sleeping right throughout. These people didn't mind that. They went out and played every day continuously. After a couple of months, the zookeeper declared to the management that the penguin wing is the most profitable wing in their zoo. What has happened was, when these 3 penguins started playing around, others saw the novelty of that play. And then also they saw they continued it. They continuously played it, and then also they can see this development happening. So this has brought in a three management concept that is about this. Whatever the solutions that you are talking, if it is novel and if it is visible, and you have to continue until it reaches a particular threshold. If that is happening, then you will be able to have a sustainable innovation. So execution is going to be, we need to create novelty. We need to create it visible through platforms, whatever. It has to be visible. And also you should not give up easily. You need to hold on to it until it reaches a particular threshold. With this, I wanted to have my end thought. Now, in the beginning, I was forcing you to think dissection. I was talking about dissection. So value chain is all about disaggregation. But what has happened after COVID is the thoughts of Peter Senge has come out very strongly now. Peter Senge, who talks about system thinking. System thinking is a discipline for seeing wholes rather than seeing wholes, sampurna, samastaya, wholes rather than parts, for seeing patterns of change rather than a static snapshot. I think this is where we need to be mindful. We are looking at snapshots and we take decisions. No, Now is the time to look at as a whole. They are understanding the subtle interconnectedness. So we need to see the interconnectedness. Now that is where the Dabbawalas are successful, because there is a huge complex system, but it is very well interconnected. Solutions cannot be given to one particular place. So that is why we need to look at the whole thing as a system thinking in that context. So with this, I would like to hand it over to Mr. Gamage. I think I have overshot by 5 minutes. No, I think I am right, because you took 5 minutes. It's 40 minutes. I will hand over to Mr. Gamage for then if there are any questions, I would more than happy to do so. Over to Mr. Gamage.
Thank you, Dr. Bhavan Singha. Thank you very much. I think that's really interesting and different way of thinking, that you stimulate us to think differently. The innovation is not rocket science or whatever, that is on your based on the ground. So with that, before I go for Q&A, I would like to invite our Managing Director, Dr. Roshan Razure. So over to you, that you can make some comments.
Yes, Anuruddha, thank you. Dr. Bhavan Singha, thank you very much for taking your time. And mostly it was a really eye-opening and interesting presentation. It's something different to what we have heard over the last 20 lecture series, because there was some interactive and you tested our attention and our ability to interpret certain real life situations. So thank you very much for making us participants in your program. And I was quite interested to when you came to the latter part of your presentation to talk about systems thinking by Peter Senge. In fact, I don't know, our company, we always operate on the basis of total systems management. Our plantations, we operate always, we talk about total systems management and not only one particular focus aspect. So I think up to now, we have managed to steer very clear of all the crises and the challenges and the, how shall I say, the rocks that we have met on the way because of our complete total system management. So thank you very much, Dr. Bhavan Singha. It was really interesting. I hope that our planters listening to you on this forum made the maximum use of your very valuable input and your time, because you brought out some very historical stories about the Trojan War and about Shostakov's strategy. I think they are very good to keep us, how shall I say, focused on what you're talking, because we also, whenever we talk to our managers, we try and bring as much as possible real life historical situations and tell them to learn from history, because history always repeats and we know what the results of history has been. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel and redo it. We have to learn from history. So your speech on innovation, and particularly I like the last stage about systems thinking, that is what we always talk of. So I'm very happy that you finally ended up with the systems thinking concept. Thank you very much, Dr. Bhavan Singha. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajuri.
Thank you, sir, for that comments. I think session is open for Q&A. We have some more minutes that you all can raise your questions. You can unmute your mic and directly you can raise your questions to Dr. Ravi Bhavan Singh.
I have a question, Doctor. It will be very interesting for all of us on the forum to let us have your views as to why you thought that number 2 choice of Pericles, his strategy was wrong, so that we will learn something from that. What is the interpretation and why it was wrong for him to get into the fortress soil, sort of a palisade, and then allow the Athenians to have free reign of the countryside?
Yeah, actually, Mr. Rajadure, Dr. Rajadure, your question is very valid. Once you have a deeper analysis of the Pericles strategy, the only mistake had happened was the duration of the strategy, right? Now, if the strategy, if they can end the war within 3 to 4 years, they were the winners, right? Now, the only mistake that Pericles did was underestimation the power strength of the opposition, right? So war lasted over 7 years. For 11 years, keeping confined to a castle, large number of people, it automatically get into a pandemic situation. So the people who are studying military strategies are considering the Pericles strategy as a positive one, right? Because of the thinking and the depth of the thinking. Right? In that context, so on the face value, a lot of people, I have done this survey many times, a lot of people go for the initial thought that they get because of the losing the war, but in terms of the depth of the strategy, that is why Norman Shaw, of course, has used that same strategy in the weapons of mass destruction, right? So, I mean, in the war, Dr. Rajadure, so many things can happen, right? So the next person I like to talk about is the Napoleon Bonaparte. Maybe another day we can talk about Napoleon Bonaparte, also another brilliant strategist, in my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation so that all of us on the forum can get an understanding of why you're right or why we're wrong. Thank you very much.
Further questions from the audience, from our team here is Plantations?
Doctor?
Yeah, Randa?
Yeah, Randa, you can go ahead.
Yeah.
Doctor, first of all, I should be thanking our MD, Dr. Rajadure and Anuruddha for organizing continuously these kind of sessions to build up our knowledge and to get us this exposure. And Doctor, thank you very much for your interesting session. Most of my guesses were wrong, Doctor. I have my own reasons for those. Same time, Doctor, my question is, at present, now we have a serious economic crisis in Sri Lanka. So what sort of a strategy should Sri Lanka have at this moment, short term, to overcome this situation, Doctor?
Yeah, actually, this is what I'm going to talk about on the 29th on a particular company forum. Now, what I believe is actually this floating was inevitable. Actually, if it happened much earlier, would have been better, but it didn't happen. But it has happened now. Way I see is I'm an optimist because I had been an entrepreneur all my life. I'm an optimist. So I see, again, we need to go back to the framework that we did, Aranda. Problem, solution, fit. We need to find out what is the problem, what is the solution that we need to look at it. And then whether that solutions will have a market fit. And then it has to have a scalability. In that context, I see now the important part here is now, if you look at the evolution of Sri Lankan business evolvement, now we are, for some reason, our local production has been undermined. And then we went into the trading mindset. And we in Sri Lanka, we have quite a respect for people who are traders and not entrepreneurs, right? Now, Aranda, is the time for the entrepreneurs to show that they are much better and much ahead than traders, right? So if they can show that profoundly, I think not in the near future, maybe a few years down the line, we should be able to come out from this misery. Now, the simple example here is, Randa, now successful economies, 90 to 99% GDP contribution is done by SMEs, right? But in Sri Lanka, it is the GDP contribution by SMEs is around 52% to maybe around 50 to 60%. Now, if we can have over 75 contribution from the SMEs to the GDP, I think we need not to worry much about politics. We need not to worry much about the dollars that we are making. Now, we have about, now there are 1.3 million MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprise, 1.3 million, according to statistics. There are about 200,000 to 300,000 SMEs, but country need about 10% of SMEs. That means about 2 million SMEs that if we have in this country, that will have quite a difference to the industries that we are talking about. Now is the time. So now actually, I'm thankful to Professor Lakshmana Vatawala. Now we are in a committee of SME development. In that we worked hard to get a National Credit Guarantee Institute for the Entrepreneurs, right? Now that is with ADB. Now ADB is imparting funds at a lower interest to the banks to disseminate funds to the SMEs and also women members. So they call V5. So women SMEs also to get benefit out. 45 million US dollars are being disseminated for women SME, V5. So if we capture, now that is why if we capture this opportunity, this window will not be going to be forever. So we need to work together. Now in that context, if we work together, I think we can find a way out to the. Now there also, I would like to ask a large company like you, conglomerate like you, I need to make a request. Now I talked about success is all about value chain. Now we need to look at our value chain and we need to see how in our value chain, what are the things that we can substitute locally? What are the things we can award a local entrepreneur, local SME to be part of your value chain? That's exactly. Now, I said the buyer's value. So you are the buyer. So you need to help your suppliers to be part of your value chain. If that happens, I think we can. So that is the role of the large conglomerates in the near future. If that happens, I think there is an opportunity. As I said, I am an optimistic person. So I will be looking at it in that context. I hope I answered your question, Iranda.
Yes, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aranda. Any other questions?
Because you all, your company is a, I believe, Mr. Gamage, the transformation need to happen from the rural. For our success, I'm a strong believer, the change need to happen from the rural sector. So you are in the right wicket, you are the right company for that. I know you are doing extensively in that area, and I believe you have a greater opportunity to make this transformation, right? Now, when we talk to the rural sector entrepreneurs, now I treat farmer as an entrepreneur, because farmer is a self-employed person, and then that person has to find a market for him or herself in that context. So your kind of companies are quite a is already playing a significant role. In future also you are going to play a significant role for this transformation. But if the change happens in the outskirts of Sri Lanka, I think then the mindsets are going to be changed. Now we were shocked to see how much acceptance of smartphones among farmers, right? And they see the benefit of that. So likewise, we can make this happen, right? We can make this happen. But my belief is there's no point being unnecessarily being talking about and being critical and being pessimistic. So my suggestion is each one of us should be optimistic and do. There's a fantastic saying, Mahatma Gandhi, you be the change that you want to be. So that's a very strong saying of Mahatma Gandhi. So we have a role to play individually and collectively. So you be the change that you want to be, then things will happen in that manner. This is just a thought that I thought of going to impart to you.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, there was a question. Yeah, there's a question that what it try to explain is that that in Sri Lankan context now we can see a lot of inventions, but according to your the elaboration that how the invention didn't transform into the innovations. There is a missing part or something missing in the commercialization part. Is it the because of the factor that hidden factor, because of that commercialization is not exposed, or the problem with the awareness? what is the hidden factor in that the context of Sri Lankan culture?
Mr. Gamage, very, very smart question. I was anticipating someone will ask this question. I'm thankful to the person who asked that question. Now, Sri Lanka is a peculiar country. Actually, I do lecture at Mortua also. Mortua, a lot of people are coming out with inventions. Now, only 2 out of 10 are converting into innovations. All the rest are brilliant ideas, but they are not going to become innovations. Why? One is the invention doesn't have a market fit. Solution market fit is not there. So they don't go through that. Most of the Sri Lankan people, even the people at Morto University, even the other entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka, very much family-oriented people, they are very possessive about the invention. This possessiveness is killer. They are possessive in Singaling, make me secret arakada mekada. So therefore, they are trying to cover it and they want to keep it to themselves. It won't work today because there are millions of inventions are there. Therefore, you need to show it to the relevant people, have partnerships, and then try to make it commercially viable. In Sri Lanka, family-oriented companies are very inward directed. They want to cover their production methods and so forth. And then also, I was a judge of Mortua, this invention and innovation evaluations. I can remember that they are very possessive, like you know, the Mr. Gamage Arape Singaling kiyanne පූසාර මීයත් එක්ක සෙල්ලම් කරනවා වගේ තමුන්ගේ ඉනෝවේෂන් එකත් එක්ක සෙල්ලම් කර ඉන්නවා ඒක කොමර්ෂියලයිස් කරන්නේ නැහැ. You get my point? So that
Yes.
aspect need to happen. So if you are not liberal in your thinking, inventions won't take off to the innovation. So only 20% invention takes off. So out of the 20%, very few in Sri Lanka is going to happen. So we will try to talk about that, patent it and all that, but it won't take off. There are a lot of fascinating inventions are there, but we need to think in terms of commercialization. I think Steve Jobs is the guru in that area. Good question.
Thank you, Doctor. We can allow you to raise only one question. Are there any questions to ask from the audience? If not, I think let me formally wind up the session, Doctor. I think as our Managing Director, Dr. Roshan Rajuri mentioned, the 20th session, we want to make it a different, because I think when I explained to you, we have undergone from first to 19 sessions on various subjects like sustainability, agriculture, management, various things we discussed. I think this is another novel concept, the topic that we go to discuss to make a good eye-opener for our entire management team of Harris Plantations, because we want to make a differentiate ourselves from the rest of the competitors in the our internal industry, as well as to showcase and to benchmark ourselves with the way of thinking, the innovative way of thinking towards innovative strategies. So that's why we thought to take this topic today. So I think you made it very powerful with your insights. You did a lot of research, I know. So I think you have put all those things in very simple and very understandable manner. So I think on behalf of our Managing Director and the entire team of Harris Plantations, we'd like to thank you very much, Doctor, your time and effort and everything. So let me thank you again. And we'll see that we will meet again and we'll discuss further on this subject. We have a small token of appreciation, Doctor, to value your effort. I think virtually we can show you this thing. So I will let you know to deliver this to your doorstep. Thank you very much, Doctor, and we'll see you again. And message to the audience that we are going to conclude our 20th session on this evening with an expert, a very novel micro-learning session, series of sessions, and hope to meet with the 21st session by end of this month, 29th of March. And till that, have a great time and have a great evening. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Rajadure and Mr. Gamage, for giving me this opportunity. It was a pleasure talking to you. If anybody has any further questions, feel free to give my email address. I am more than happy to do that because I want everybody to get this understanding and make this country a better country. There's no other country like this in that context. All the best to you. Good night.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.